It's season 2 of the league. If you thought season 1 was jam-packed and absolutely a joyride, just wait for season 2. I promise you it's going to be so much better. And we're not going to waste any time getting into this episode. Why? Because we have way too many games to talk about, way too many storylines to get to. So let's go to the map this week. We got a bunch of player versus player games. We also have a lot of Power 4 opponents on the schedule. It is truly one of the best week ones you will ever see in your lifetime. And we're going to start this thing out in Knoxville, Tennessee with Coach Mike Roth and the App State Mountaineers. And I don't mean to spoil this one for you, but this got ugly quickly and not in the way you would expect. App State already up 7-0. Broken tackle, breaking the plane. It is 14-0. Check that. It's 17 after a field goal for the Mountaineers. And we are 2 minutes. We're still in the first half, by the way. And Kanye Roberts, the star of the show last year, finds the end zone to make it 24-0. Tennessee did get a field goal. And that was the only time they would score the entire game. A little fullback dive for you to make this thing 31-3. But we gotta rub it in a little bit. Salt in the wound, on the run. That is 38-3 as your final over number 23 Tennessee. Statement win for Coach Mike Roth. On the other side of the country, Fresno State was trying to do something similar, but they didn't exactly have the same results. That touchdown made it 17-0 in the first half, and then right before the 2-minute warning, Jaden Maeva would hand this ball off to the running back. He would break a few tackles and fight his way into the end zone. 24-0, and Fresno State finally with a chance to score their best chance of the game, and that ball gets picked off. New quarterback, no more E.J. Warner out here for the Bulldogs, and it just got uglier and uglier as the game went on. 27-0 now late into the third quarter. Defense did make a little bit of a stand there in the second half, but they would lose this one 40-0. And we got our first press conference of season 1.
Yeah, that was a tough one to take. They were the better team. I mean, there's a reason why they have a number little 10 behind their name. You know, they are a very good team, and it definitely was a talent gap. We just got to be better at... We got to be better at a lot of things. I like the run defense. I think that once we got into a rhythm in the passing game, we looked all right. We tried forcing things because we wanted to try to score. We need to clean that up, but I understand. I think the biggest thing was in the first half, the moment was just too big for us. We showed up and we just kind of got shell-shocked. That dictated our play. Well, in the second half, we only allowed them to score 16 points. And I'm proud of that. I think that we did a pretty good job. We held them to a lot of field goals. The biggest thing is just we gotta be better under pressure. I think that's the biggest thing. We got to be better under pressure. We got to run the ball better. And I think we'll be able to do that against some teams that, aren't number 10 of the country. So we'll come back next week and we'll get it figured out.
We're going to travel back east of the Mississippi for a player versus player game. Our first one of the season, San Jose State and Coach Crowley taking on Jacksonville State and Coach Lou Brown. And this would not get off to a good start for the Spartans. That pick and a convoy, my goodness, that is going to be an easy 6. No more Adam Matthews for the Spartans. In fact, a lot of their best players decided to hit the transfer portal. Now they rely on Raleek Brown and really nobody else to make plays on the offensive side of the ball. Jaden Davis is the new quarterback for the Gamecocks, and he was on point today. Now 28-0. This second and goal draw would make it 35-0. And then it became 49-0. But I always want to show when somebody scores their first touchdown of the season. And this one came on a very fun play. Break and contain in the pocket. And whoop, little spin cycle for you. And that is going to be a touchdown. But a 49-7 loss is just unacceptable for Coach Crowley and the Spartans. We head to our second user versus user game, Utah State and Louisiana. Some people had a name for this ball. It starts with an R. I'll let you fill in the rest, and you'll see why. I think it starts right about now. So Lunch Winfield is back at quarterback for Louisiana, and he's going to throw it right to the Utah State defense. We got a hurdle. Why? Not really sure. It's a 14-6 ball game, mind you, and we're still in the first quarter, and then a 4th and goal. This is no longer Bryson Barnes. It's Burt Emanuel Jr., and he's going to throw a pick in the back of the end zone. And instead of taking a knee, we're actually going to take this ball out. And this goes to the 2-yard line. And then we're going to go trips into the boundary with the tight end on the trip side. So we have no nub, nothing on the left side of the field. And that ball is going to get picked off because we're trying to force the ball in the seam. You can kind of get and see why this game specifically has the name that it does. They couldn't convert last time on the interception. Would they be able to do it this time? Well, they tried the screen and it actually worked to perfection. They didn't get the 2-point conversion, so it's just 14-12. But hey, you'd rather be down by 2 than down by 8, right? And then I shouldn't have spoke too soon. That was bad because there is no contain on this play. I would love to be the running back for Louisiana at this point. Good Lord, that was wide open. And we've got a 9-point ball game now after the extra point. Just before the half, though, Utah State kind of needs this one to stay in this ball game. And Burt's going to fire over the middle, find his receiver. I think that was Corey Thompson Jr. Couldn't quite tell. But now we got a 1-point ball game. Not for long. The first play of the second half, little RPO action. Winfield out to his tight end, and he's cruising down easy street for another score. This one's going to make it an 8-point ball game. So still within reach for the Aggies. We're going to fast forward a little bit. Still an 8-point ball game, but we're in the fourth quarter now. Winfield's going to hand this one off, and that is a Cajuns touchdown. Now it is a 14-point ball game. Burt, what do you have for me? Rolling out of the pocket on the run. He's got it. It's a touchdown, but it wouldn't be enough. Here's Coach Taylor after the game.
Another season opener at home that ends in a 1-score loss. Credit to Coach McCringleberry. That one's a tough loss. I thought we executed fairly well. It's tough when, look, I don't want to blame. I don't want to have excuses for this or that. The connection was bad. Like, I feel like that's a fair thing to say on both ends. I think it was unfair probably for both of us, so like it made it even. I would love to see a matchup between us two with no internet connection issues, because on my screen I was seeing the attention every single play. But nonetheless, great second half adjustments from Louisiana, from the Cajuns. Yeah, they played well. We couldn't. There was that one. I can't remember what play it was, but we ran a 4-4 on defense, and they got to the outside, and that's just like, duh. That's what happened last season, and it turned into 7. It was bad on our part. I don't know, man. I really don't know. I thought we played well. I mean, we had to play twice. The first half, the first game, we played well, and second game, I thought we also played well. We were just slower. Offense was slower to operate. We couldn't run as well. It sucks. It sucks in part because you feel like, hey, we did this in the first game. Let's do it again, and we couldn't. This comes across as me making a lot of excuses, and I'm not trying to. We lost, straight up. We lost. Defense, I thought, played well for the most part. I mean, we had 5 interceptions. Offense operated as good as I thought. I hate starting the season 0-1, playing behind the 8 ball. That was a winnable game for us, and I don't know now. I don't know. We'll see where we go from here.
I don't know if I've seen a team be close but no cigar as often as this Utah State team under Coach Taylor. You got to feel for him. Toledo, on the other hand, is coming off an 11-win season, and they're looking to do it again. Can you go back-to-back? Starting off 14-6 against Pitt is a great step in that direction, but they would give up a touchdown later in the third quarter. They would miss the 2-point conversion, so we still got a 2-point ball game. Last play of the third quarter, that ball is jumped, and it is going in the other direction. That is number 2 in terms of pick sixes, I believe, that we've shown in these videos. I'm going to try to keep a mental track this year, at least in episode 1, to see how many there were. Now it's a Pitt 19-14 lead. Less than a touchdown, though, so this score right here will put Toledo back on top, in control of this game. They do go for 2 to make it a 3-point ball game. Got to get that field goal cushion. And then a jet sweep would extend that lead to 29, but Pitt said not so fast. We're still in this ball game. We ain't hear no bell yet. And they would score the touchdown, make this a 3-point ball game. They would kick the ball back off to Toledo. 3rd and 4. If they convert it, it's over. And you see the score. They do. 29-26. Coach Cam King gets the W in week 1 of season 2. Buffalo and Missouri State going against each other in the Toilet Bowl, and Buffalo got on the board early. Little spin move to boot, and that is going to be 7-0 Bulls. If you know anything about these teams, it's that they both struggled offensively, and it's because of plays like this. A little scoop and score for the defense. You just got to execute better than that if you're going to want to win a football game. It's now 14-3 after a Bears field goal, and they're driving yet again late in the first half. And this ball is going to be fired over the middle, and that's a touchdown on some yak. We've got ourselves a ball game here, ladies and gentlemen, in the first half. Buffalo said, let's keep the party rolling in the first half. We don't want to be just up 4 at the break. Let's make it 11. How about that? Does that sound good? They would right here. That is just a great play before the half to extend the lead. Not too much scoring in the first half of the third quarter, but we would get one right here, making this a 28-13 ball game after the inside run, a little 0-1 trap for the people. You got to get back to the bread and butter. But Missouri State did not quit, and that was the nice thing about this team that we saw in week 1. Last year, it felt like once they got down, they were really out of it. But that touchdown and a defensive stop late in the fourth quarter led to this throw across the field. Made sure to set his feet before he threw it. Just an absolute dime. The onside kick is a must-do if you want to win this ball game. It's not bad, but that one's going to be scooped up by Buffalo, and they would win this one 31-26. That is the first FBS victory for Coach Hugh Janis. It's a big one. Out in Ann Arbor, Michigan, Middle Tennessee State is trying to play spoiler against the number 8 Wolverines. That's not how you do it right there. New QB Julian Duggar is picked off in the red zone. Michigan didn't do anything there, but would eventually later finding the end zone on that 1st and goal run to make it a 10-0 ball game. But the Blue Raiders fought their way back down the field. Duggar to Julian Mbakwe. He is essentially your Morion Walker replacement. Dude has wheels to boot. And they also brought in this guy, Jeremiah Cobb. Check out that acceleration. Make it a 2-point ball game once again. But this Michigan offense would not go away, led by sophomore phenom Bryce Underwood to play action, and they got plenty of time in the pocket. He's going to chuck this one deep. That one puts the ball inside the 10, and 3 plays later, the Michigan offense would find the end zone yet again. Underwood drop backs to pass. He's going to fire over the middle, over the head of the safety. I'm not sure how he got that one through, but he did. After a Middle Tennessee State field goal, this is now a 6-point ball game. Duggar on the keep. He's going to split the defense and score, putting the Blue Raiders in front for the first time today. But the Wolverines said, we're going to score with less than 50 seconds left. They go up 29-24. You have just 45 seconds to do something crazy. And Duggar's going to throw it short of the sticks. They don't get the first down, so they got to use their last timeout. You really have to be careful here now because you can't afford any sacks. You really can't afford to get tackled inbounds. And Duggar's going to throw it short of the sticks again, this time to Cameron Lacey. And again, you got to go no huddle. You don't have any timeouts. You either got to go and spike it or you got to have another play on the ready. Looks like they're going to get to the line. Duggar's going to drop back to pass. He's going to throw it deep, and he's got a man. Are you kidding me? That is transfer wide receiver Talon Shetron from Oklahoma State, and Middle Tennessee's going to pull off the major upset in the big house. Here's Coach Hudson after the game.
I am at a loss for words. What just happened was the greatest win in Middle Tennessee State history. To come back down 10-0 after the start that we had, Julian Duggar with 2 picks early on, to come back and put up 18 in the fourth quarter And that last throw to Shetron, this kid is the real deal. I thought we outplayed them. Straight up, I thought we were the better team. We were able to get whatever we wanted on the ground. It was just about making those big plays. They just made more of them. They made so many big plays that were mistake-free. We didn't do that in the first half, and that's why we were down. But I didn't panic, right? You never want to panic for the boys on the sideline. If you stay composed, they'll stay composed. And they did. And we won in the big house. Week 1, new quarterback, basically a brand new offensive line, new receiving core. Oh my God. Julian Duggar is the man. Holy smokes. Defensively, I thought we played really well. We tried to put our team in as many good situations as possible to make plays, and I thought they did. They kept us in the game long enough for us to strike, and we did exactly that. I just, other than starting the year off 1-0, that is a tone setter for what this season can be for the Blue Raiders. And I am so proud of these boys. That's all I got for you guys today. I just cannot believe that happened. Unbelievable finish. So proud to be a Blue Raider.
We go to our next player versus player game as Coach Mo Shiesty is taking on Coach Koss and the UMass Minutemen in Massachusetts. And this one didn't go the way the Blue Hens were hoping. UMass got out to an early lead. That screen was a thing of beauty. That is how you block up a screen, coaches, if you ever want to show your guys. But it's 14-0, and the next time they touched the ball, the Minutemen, that is, they scored another touchdown to make this thing 21-0. And again, they just blew this one wide open. It's 28-0 now, and after this play right here, it would be 35-0. But from this point forward, Delaware went on a 14-7 scoring run, so you be the judge of who really was the winner in this one. There's our good friend Jake Bradell making yet another play for this Blue Hen offense, and if you thought he was done, you'd be wrong. I don't know why you would think Jake Bradell didn't score multiple touchdowns in this game. 42-14 is your final. Here's Coach Mo Shiesty.
So things went really wrong today against Doc. Once I settled down, my takeaways were kind of that it was a game where we were out-coached and out-efforted, but they just did a lot of things extra that we just haven't done, and we need to start doing those extra things. The big thing I talked about was creativity in not just offensive play calling, because I think that's where you think of creativity in football the most. I don't think Doc did anything that was extremely creative on offense that really threw me off, although he definitely was more so creative than I was with play action looks, as well as spreading the ball around the field to different people, where I kind of just lasered in on Jake like I always tend to do. And when we kind of went away from that, it was kind of better in some places. As good of a game as Jake had today. I think that all that being said, I think his defensive creativity was a lot better too. Mixing in different coverages, picking times to send pressure. He just had a better pulse on the game and what I was going to do than we were. And that was him kind of dictating the pace from the go. Immediately into the game, we overthrew the ball, an interception at 7-0. And then we turned the ball over on downs on the next drive. It's 14-0, and it spirals from there. The linebackers and the front seven, we knew that was going to be a question mark coming in, and it's looking less like a question mark and more just like an objective weakness right now. And I think diagnosing your team's problems and trying to mask that is important, and we're going to go and look at that, but also they just need to play better. They cannot play that bad for us to win games this year in Conference USA, let alone a big game in Knoxville coming up that I won't stop talking. We need to be better. We will be better, and we'll get back next week. So thank you all for continuing to support us, and hopefully we get a Blue Hens win video next week.
Over in the Buckeye State, Coach Sean Combs wanted an onslaught of treachery in his out-of-conference matchups, and boy, did he get it. Meet Jeremiah Smith. That is a grown man touchdown right there. Down 10-0 now. It's 2nd 11 midway through the second quarter. And again, like, what are we doing? You cannot man up these Ohio State receivers. They are just simply better athletes than you. Now down 17-0. Tim Carpenter played a little bit last year. Shows off some good touch on that throw right there. Cuts into the lead a little bit, and now we're in the third quarter, and they're going to find the end zone again. Hold on a second. Bobcats aren't out of this one. It's just a touchdown game, but the defense trying to get too aggressive yet again. We saw this last year, the entire season. That is another Ohio State touchdown. They're going to take advantage of your over-aggressiveness. But it wouldn't stay 13 for a long. Little rocket toss on the goal line puts the Bobcats in striking distance, but they would kick a field goal to make this a 2-score game. And oh man, you just can't have that happen. You're trying to get back into it. That pick six, basically nail in coffin. Goodbye. See you later. Head coach Sean Combs and the Bobcats head on down back to Athens. And another player versus player battle. We had Coach P. Rizzi traveling to Conway to take on Coach Gunt and the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers. And this one was all Chants early, 9-0. At least we know Bowling Green's special teams came to play with that blocked extra point. But you're going to have to meet this new guy, Landon Humphreys. Yeah, he's taking over on this offense as the guy, putting up a little head top in week one to make this 16-0. But the Falcons would not go away. Coach P. Rizzi told the boys before the season, hey, my ass is on the line here. We need to win. Apparently, the kicker didn't get the memo. Take away the special teams credit. That's embarrassing. You can't miss a chip shot like that. And that was going to matter, too, because if they had gotten that, we'd be looking at least a tie ball game, maybe even the lead. And yes, he did also miss the extra point. Not a great day for the BG kicker. Might have to cut him after this one. And then, yeah, if you thought Landon Humphreys was done, you're wrong. That is a beauty down the seam. That is going to make this a 23-13 ball game, and they're driving to in the red zone. Hold on a second, though. What are we doing with that pass? What are we doing, brother? At least you made that tackle, but they're in plus territory now. Bowling Green ready to go, and they would drive all the way down to the 3-yard line, but they would have to convert on 4th and goal, and Drew Pine would sit in the pocket, find his tight end wide open in the corner of the end zone, and make this 3 points yet again. But unfortunately for the Falcon faithful, Coastal Carolina drove right back down the field and put the dagger in the heart and twisted a little bit to make that 30-20 score final. San Diego State was looking to carry some of that late season momentum last year into the 2026 season. New quarterback Malachi Nelson finds his tight end on the RPO flat. A little stiff arm never hurt nobody. 7-0 Aztecs. But the defense, man, what are we doing? Letting the wide receiver get behind us and tying this ball game up at a touchdown apiece. But again, Malachi Nelson, kind of a little culture change in San Diego after Jaden Benegal gets benched in the offseason quarterback battle. Not sure how much of a battle it was. FCS West would add a field goal to make this a 4-point ball game, but a touchdown right back down the field, extended it a little bit. After another Triton field goal, Malachi Nelson found his tight end yet again. And that is a lot of green in front of him. Is anybody going to catch him? The answer is no. Not sure what that angle is. 38-28, your final in this one. San Diego State starts the season off 1-0. Out in Reno, the Wildcats traveled to take on the Wolfpack, and it was the Wolfpack that found the end zone first, taking the 7-3 lead. First drive of the second quarter for Arizona, and they would find the end zone. A little check down to the running back. Defense parted there, and they find the end zone to take the lead right back. 4th and goal for the Nevada offense with 2 minutes in the first half. The quick trigger touchdown dump off to the tight end is caught through traffic, making this 14-10. After a Wildcat field goal, the Wolfpack punch right back, taking a 21-13 lead, making this 8 points. 3:23 left in the fourth quarter, and they're going to find the end zone, and they're going to get the 2-point conversion, tying this thing up at 21. The Wolfpack would get the ball back, and they would drive. They're in field goal range. You just got to take care of the football. And what does that usually mean? The turnover is right there. But if their defense could hold up, they could maybe get to overtime. Unfortunately, they could not. Arizona marches down the field, and they are true through the uprights, taking this one 24-21. And a roommate battle between Old Dominion and Coach Noah Cavan. and then chuck downfield in Western Kentucky. We had ourselves fireworks in this bad boy. Check out the juke moves on that one. A little bubble screen, getting a taste of your own medicine, and we're going to see it again right here. Another bubble screen. These teams really need to learn how to defend it, and that guy needs to turn around and make a tackle. We got ourselves a good one, tied up at 7. New quarterbacks for both of these teams. And we've seen this a few times before. The RPO is not kept, though. It is thrown out to the wide receiver. He had 2 blockers in space, and they find the end zone to extend it to 7 yet again. But right back down the field, Jack Lane finds his tight end, and he's going to get in the end zone. That was a weak attempt at a tackle by the ODU defense. Ensuing kickoff, you know, if I show you a kickoff, one of 2 things is going to happen. Well, this was the good one for Old Dominion, all the way back to the other end zone. That is 7-point lead yet again. That's their 3rd one of this game. They would not be able to maintain or extend this one, though. Hilltoppers right back down the field. A little toss to the left to get in the end zone. They would add a field goal right before the half. And then coming out of the break, again, if I'm showing you a kick return, what is it for? One of 2 things, either a fumble or a return. This one is another return, our 2nd special team score of the game. That would make this bad boy 31-21, but an Monarch field goal would make it a 7-point ball game yet again. But Jack Lane's pulling out all of the stops, and he gets in. That was some nasty running from the Hilltopper quarterback. 38-24. Now 4th and goal. Fighting. Stopped short. Monarchs still have life. 4:11 left in the 4th quarter. 3rd and 10. What do they have in store? They get the first down, break a tackle, break another tackle, whoop, spin cycle. Oh my gosh, he's got plenty of room to run, and he's going to find the end zone. Just enough gas to get there. Doesn't have to make a pit stop. What an unbelievable series of events to make this a 7-point ball game. And the Monarchs get the ball right back, and they're going to score again. Are you kidding me right now? What is this Western Kentucky defense doing? We have seen this team collapse time and time again. Will this one be different? 3rd and 4, under a minute left in this ball game. Lane on the bubble screen out to his wide receiver. He's got plenty of room, breaking angles. He's going to get tackled inside the 10-yard line, and they're going to run this bad boy down. 15 seconds left. The field goal is up, and it is right down the pipe. 41-38 is your final. What a way to end week 1. Let's go back through the scoreboard recap, and let's talk about game number 1. How about that for Chuck Downfield and the Hilltoppers? Just an amazing start to the season. A little closer than you would like, given the 14-point lead in the 4th quarter, but you'll take the win nonetheless. Jacksonville State with a statement victory over a team that was playing in the Mountain West Conference Championship game last year. Middle Tennessee State marches into the Big House and upsets number 8 Michigan in a game that, honestly, I'm not sure if they had any business winning given the last drive. They did outplay them, though, based off the scorebook. UMass with another big win. They just continue to pull off these victories. They're such a well-coached team, and now they've actually got a little bit of talent. Watch out for the Minutemen. And then Buffalo, the story of the day, getting their first FBS win under head coach Hugh Janus. You can't write better stories than that. It comes at the expense, though, of a Missouri State team that finished the 2025 season strong. They're going to need to get back in the win column next week. They got P. Rizzi on deck. We're going to see that one in a little bit. Ohio losing to in-state rival Ohio State in the shoe. We already talked about that Missouri State-Buffalo game and the Delaware UMass game. A little Maxion Cusa crossover. Bowling Green does their best to stick in it with Coastal Carolina, but the Chants pull out the 10-point victory. I'm sure Coach Goon is a little bit disappointed with how close that finish was. Toledo pulling off the big upset, getting Pitt to come to the Glass Bowl, and then pulling off the win is just, it's a phenomenal feeling as a G5 school to get that kind of win. Nevada losing a heartbreaker to the Arizona Wildcats. Again, they got them to come to Reno, but couldn't pull it out in the end. A little disappointing finish there. In the R-Word Bowl, Louisiana pulls off the win over Utah State. Again, I'm not going to tell you what it is. You're going to have to use deductive reasoning to figure that out. That one, though, was crazy back and forth. Cajuns pull it out. San Diego State with the big win over FCS West just to get on the right foot. Obviously, USC took Fresno State to the woodshed, not able to really be competitive at all. We saw them do this at the beginning of the season last year, then turn it around a little bit towards the middle of the season. We'll see if they just do that in week 2 rather than wait a couple of weeks to do so. We already talked about the Bowling Green Coastal game. Let's go talk about App State for a second. What a victory. I mean, that is just complete and utter domination from one of the best teams in the league, looking like another contender for the best team yet again. And I don't think anybody in the Sun Belt is going to be able to beat them. Just another phenomenal performance. Western Kentucky beating Old Dominion. We already talked about that one. And then Coach Engelman Kringleberry getting the win over Utah State. We talked about that one already enough. Now it's time to talk about players of the week from week 1. Your National Defensive Player of the Week is Curly Reed III. He had 9 tackles, 1 sack, a TFL, an INT, and 3 PBUs against Utah State in that 47-40 victory. He obviously also won Sun Belt Player of the Week. In Conference USA, Jaden Patterson gets Defensive Player of the Week honors with 7 tackles, a TFL, an INT, and he took that thing back for 6. That is a great performance in the win over San Jose State. In the MAC, we got Charlie McGatherins with 8 tackles and 2 INTs, the one to seal it as well. And then Jonathan Paler with 9 catches, 122 yards, 1 receiving touchdown. And then the Mountain West is all Utah State. Edward Rambo with 10 tackles, a TFL, 2 INTs. And then the man, Corey Thompson Jr., 9 for 178 in 2 scores. He's got a long way to go to reach last season's highs, but that is a great start. Week 2 brings us to, again, a great slate of games. We got a lot of player versus player action and some more Power 4 opponents on the docket. As you can see, Delaware traveling to Tennessee. App State was able to pull off the upset. Would they be able to? Well, you're going to have to wait to see on that one. But we did see a couple of upsets in this Week 2 action. But you're just going to have to wait and see who those upsets were. We're going to start this thing out in Pennsylvania. That's right, we're going to State College, where UMass was taking on number 5 Penn State. Would they be able to pull off another top 25 upset? I believe we've seen 2 or 3 of them so far this season, and they would get on the board with a touchdown right there, taking the 7-3 lead. And did somebody say 2-score lead in Happy Valley? Right here on the run, that touchdown puts it up 14-3. But right before the break, Penn State gonna find the end zone. The little tight end flat route, he fights his way across the plane, cutting this thing to 4. As we head into the third quarter, we still have that 14-10 score. Penn State is going to drive down the field on the first possession of the second half and find the end zone, taking their second lead of the game. A UMass field goal would tie this thing up at 17, but Penn State would drive. I mean, not really a drive. It's one play explosive, splitting that cover 2 with the post to go up 24-17. But UMass, with all of their resiliency, would march down the field and add 6 to the board. And obviously, Coach Kaz is not scared to go for it. They want the win. They don't want to go to overtime. And they would convert. UMass goes into Happy Valley and pulls the upset. Now we go to Neyland Stadium, where Delaware is looking to do what App State did to the Volunteers last week. I don't know if it'll be quite as lopsided. Tennessee already getting on the board with a touchdown. They didn't do that at all against App State. But Matt Kelsey has invigorated this offense with his legs, and he's going to run up this sideline untouched to take back the lead for the Blue Hens. Tennessee goes and kicks 2 field goals to take the 13-10 lead, but Kelsey again using his legs to his advantage. I mean, he crossed the plane and then got touched. This dude is unbelievable on the ground, but Tennessee said, we can do the quarterback run too. They design a little QB power, take the lead right back from the Blue Hens. But not so fast. Delaware back down the field, finding the checkered end zone to take the 4-point lead right back. This is a seesaw affair. You're going to have to give if you want to get, it seems like. And Tennessee just gave away a touchdown, so they get one right back. 27-24 now, Vols with the lead. A Delaware field goal ties it up, and then they would get the ball back from Tennessee, drive down the field facing 3rd and goal, and finding the one and only Jake Bradell to take the 7-point lead. But the Blue Hen defense could not stand tall. 2nd and goal, the toss out to the left, cut up the field. Tennessee ties this thing up at 34. It's 3rd and 5. Delaware doesn't really have a shot to get into field goal range, but they're going to throw it anyway, and that ball is incomplete. Tennessee gets the ball back on a punt. They get into semi-field goal range, 61 yards. There's no way this gets there, right? And it does. Oh, a heartbreaking defeat for Mo Shiesty and the Delaware Blue Hens. That is an unfortunate loss, but a great effort nonetheless. Western Kentucky and Coach Chuck downfield traveling to Fresno to take on Coach Hardy Sonnenberger Jr.'s Bulldogs, and they would get on the board first. Jack Lane using his legs to extend the play, and then finds his receiver in the flat to take the 7-0 lead. But this Bulldog offense kind of had a groove going early on. You know they love these screen passes. That one pays off to perfection. Convoy out in front gives them a tie ball game. And then on 4th and goal the next drive, Katie Hutchinson up the gut for the score. They would add a field goal, the Hilltoppers would, to take 17-7 lead. And then right before the half, Fresno State finding the end zone to cut this thing to 3. But it was quite literally all Hilltoppers in the second half, outscoring Fresno State 28-0 the rest of the way. That one was another Jack Lane special on the run, finding his receiver, and then a nice run to cap it off. 45-14 is your final. We go to Ohio for one of the most anticipated matchups in the league. Toledo, the off-season champions, looking to prove themselves early on, beating last year's MAC champion. Maddox Madsen, transfer quarterback, on the run. That ball is going to get picked off. That is a goal to go. INT. You got to get points in that situation. You can't throw a pick there. But they would get the ball right back. And then Madsen with another interception. That is 2 in a row for the veteran quarterback. This time, the Bobcats would capitalize. Tim Carpenter beating the blitz out to the flat. His running back dives into the end zone to take a 7-0 lead. On the ensuing possession, Toledo dices their way down the field to get inside the 5 yet again, and Madsen would get picked off for a second time in the red zone. That is already 3 first-half interceptions for the veteran quarterback. Like, what are we doing? Tim Carpenter, though, said, hey, I can match you. He throws a pick over the middle, and Toledo's offense is back in control with great field position. They would not do anything with it, though. Toledo gets the ball right back. Michael Van Buren now in the game for the Bobcats, and he gets picked off. If you're counting at home, this one's going to go back for 6, by the way. That is 6 interceptions already in the first half. Not sure what was going on with the offenses today. We go to the third quarter now, and Van Buren's going to get picked off again. He said, I need to throw a red zone interception now. This one gets taken back a decent ways, and Toledo is in a good spot offensively. They get into the plus 30, and Madsen going to throw another interception. I think at this point, this was his 4th of the game, just trying to do way too much on that throw, trying to split the safeties. He just doesn't have the arm to do that. But Van Buren said, hey, I got you right back. It's okay. The Toledo defense kept this offense in the game as much as possible. 2 rocket field goals later, and we're in the 4th quarter. Ohio needing a score to get back on top, and Van Buren would convert, finding his receiver in the flat. And listen, you know how this game is going to end. It's the same way the entire game has gone. Madsen with his 7th interception of the day, 12 combined between the two teams. Just an ugly, ugly ball game that the Bobcats are able to win 14-13. Our next stop is Huntington, West Virginia, where the Middle Tennessee State Blue Raiders are trying to avenge one of their 2 losses from last season. They would get on the board first with a 7-0 throw, Duggar to Mbakwe. Now up 17-0 right before the half. Duggar taking that hit, delivering the beautiful throw to Talon Shetron, the hero from last week. Now 31-7. Jalen Mbakwe wants to score again, this time from the special teams side of things, and he's just got plenty of space to run. He's fast, too. You're not going to catch him. 45-14. They get their revenge. Just a nice, easy win in Huntington. Virginia Tech hosting Old Dominion for the 2nd straight season. If you remember last year's game, it was pretty close. This one, not so much. That is just horrific tackling. I'm not sure what happened to this Old Dominion defense from last year to this year, but they are just not nearly as good at tackling, as you can see right there. This is very uncharacteristic from a Coach Noah Cavan team. They've got to figure something out. They would get on the board offensively, though, with this touchdown right here. Nice little spin move to make the defenders look silly, but the defense could not get stops. And it was on stuff that it's like, how are you going to let that happen? Right here, the end around. The block set up beautifully. 40-12 is your final. ODU 0-2 to start the season. Not good enough. Second straight user game for both coaches in this one. Louisiana was victorious in their week 1 bout. San Jose State not so much, and it was the Cajuns that got on the board first with that touchdown run you just saw, and then Lunch Winfield showing off the arm, splitting the seams, making this a 14-0 ball game. But if you know anything about San Jose State, it's that they don't usually get blown out unless it's Texas, because that offense is just too good. Finding the tight end there on the little RPO action we know so well with this team to cut this thing back to a 7-point lead. But Lunch Winfield was on fire today. He threw a great ball right there. A little whoop, spin move, and that block beautiful from the wide receiver to make this a 14-point ball game yet again. But I told you, San Jose State does not get blown out 2 weeks in a row. They just don't let it happen. First and goal, minute left in the first half. That is some good grit to get into the end zone. A Louisiana field goal to start the second half makes this 24-14. But this touchdown run right here on the read option is going to cut it to a 3-point lead. This is the closest it's been since 0-0 at the start of the game. And it would be Raleek Brown, the star of this offense, finding the end zone on the little flat pass to take the first Spartan lead of the game. But Louisiana, led by quarterback Lunch Winfield, would not let this stand. The handoff to the running back, and he's going to fight his way. A little ping pong action into the end zone. But this defense, as we saw all year last year, cannot get a break. That touchdown on 4th and goal gives Coach Crowley and the Spartans the 35-31 victory. Very, very heartbreaking loss for the Cajuns as they drop to 1-1. Buffalo traveling to Death Valley to take on Clemson. They were number 1 last week, but then lost, and they got off to a glorious start. Listen, Buffalo was not a very good team last year. They went 1-11. They now had an opportunity to go 2-0 and stay above 500. That fumble was awesome, but the offense did nothing with it. Defense back on the field. Clemson scores. It's now 14-0. They've just got a lot of talented players on this Clemson side of the football. Alonzo Barnett, the JMU transfer, was a phenomenal pickup in the portal, and he was dealing early. 21-0 now, Tigers up. But right before the break, this Buffalo team, man, they're just so much more talented than they were last season, cutting this thing to 14. And then it's still 21-7. We're midway through the third quarter, and another touchdown pass. This is a 7-point ball game. I bet you never thought that was going to happen. But again, the talent was just too much for the Bulls to overcome. Barnett on the QB keep, and he's going to get, oh, maybe not. Maybe, oh, he's going to pick it up and then find the end zone. That's a pretty good encapsulation of how this game kind of went. Unfortunate that the Bulls could not pull off the upset victory, but a very, very good effort nonetheless. They're playing much better than they were last year. Nevada trying to bounce back from that week 1 loss, and they would look very good early on in all facets of the game. Special teams with the blocked field goal. This is going to get picked up by a big man. Normally, when these plays happen, it's a big man that picks it up. You don't think he's going to score, but he's got just enough juice diving into the end zone. Get that man some oxygen. He's going to need it. 21-3 now after a UCLA field goal. We're right before halftime. We're going to extend this thing even more. The Wolfpack go on to win 45-24. That UCLA team is stinky. Let's go back to the East Coast where Boone, North Carolina was rocking for this one. App State taking the 20-0 lead on a little RPO action there. But what kind of team would the Aztecs be if they just quit? Oh, wow, that was a nasty ankle breaker. It's only a 13-point ball game. But this App State team is just a little bit better. You could drive a semi through that hole, and Roberts takes advantage, extending this thing to 20 points. And then the RPO again, just could not figure out how to defend it, and they attack it yet again. 34-7 is your score now. This is not looking pretty for the Aztecs, but they would add a couple more scores before the end of this game, as would the Mountaineers. 48-28 your final. The Aztecs drop to 1-1. App State to 2-0, and they have won quite a lot since that week 1 loss last season. Jacksonville State traveling to Tempe, Arizona to see what the Sun Devils got going on. They trail 27-23 early in the fourth quarter, and that is a dangerous throw, but high risk, high reward, I guess. Jacksonville State back out in front. 3 minutes left now, but the Sun Devils, they're going to find the end zone. This Gamecock defense, not the best. The offense, on the other hand, good luck stopping them. 30 seconds left in this game. They dump off to the running back, and they find the end zone, take the 3-point lead. But I talked about this defense already, didn't I? Sam Levitt's going to tuck this one, and he's got a lot of room to run. They still have 2 timeouts. He's going to make a little juke, get down. They call a timeout with 6 seconds left. They're going to try one more play to make this a more manageable field goal. Let's see if the Jacksonville State defense can do something here. Oh, that is going to be close. They get to timeout in time. It all comes down to the field goal. If they miss it, Jacksonville State gets the win. Oh, he's got a good block. Oh, no, he missed it. Are you kidding me? Oh, my God. We're going to overtime. I cannot believe what we just saw. Oh, my goodness. Anthony Calandria, though, says, it doesn't matter, coach. I got you. 44-37, Jacksonville State leads. It's the Sun Devils' turn now, and they answer right back. They get the field goal on their first possession of the second overtime. So all Jacksonville State needs is a touchdown, and they would get it. 50-47 is your final. Golly, Coach Brown, do it to him. Oh, my God, what a game. I'll tell you what, that Jacksonville State team has so many games down to the wire. They're a fun team to follow. We go to Utah State now, where Stanford is trying to pull off the win on the home soil of the Aggies, and they would get on the board first 7-0. Then facing a 3rd and 6, the seam shot. That's the running back who lined up in the slot. He's going to go all the way to the end zone. And all of a sudden, Utah State in a 14-0 hole as we get to the second quarter. They need to get something going on offense. How about a little speed option action to the wide receiver playing running back? No idea what's going there. He just outruns the Stanford defense as he fights into the end zone to make this a 7-point ball game. Man, what are we doing? This is going to be this guy's 3rd touchdown of the game. I genuinely don't know what Coach Taylor is teaching on defense, because every single game I see these Aggies play, I just want to pull my hair out with some of the things that they are doing. And look at this. That's 4 touchdowns. We cannot keep doing this. I don't know how the Utah State faithful will consistently watch this team play on the defensive side of the football. It is excruciating. But the offense stayed in it as long as they possibly could. They're only down 17 right now as we enter the 4th quarter. They face a 3rd and 11, and that is going to be a touchdown. Listen, it's 10 points. Defense, please do something. Well, they gave up a field goal already, and there's only a minute left in the 4th quarter. Don't tell me they're going to give up another touchdown. They're going to give up another touchdown. Are you kidding me? 45-24 is your final. Taylor's seat is very, very hot. We go to Bowling Green, Ohio, where Coach P. Rizzi is trying to defend home field, but Joyner's got other plans. That is how you set the blocks up. It's 10-0, and Missouri State is back in goal to go, and Joyner's going to find the end zone again. That's 17-0. Coach Wagner's boys came to play. Did Bowling Green have the answer? Pass underneath is certainly looking good, and then he breaks 2 tackles. I've never seen that before. Kind of looked like he had some extraterrestrial powers. What is P. Rizzi doing with his team over there? Oh, that was an ugly pancake. Joyner finds the end zone again. This thing is 24-7 as we enter the halftime break. But wait a minute. Drew Pine says, we're not going to the break yet. Give me that head top. Sit down, little boy. This thing is 10 as we go into half. Man, Bowling Green just does not have that quit in them. They fight hard. I'm not sure what the DB was doing. We got 2 people diving. Missouri State touchdown. That is about all I can say about that one. Unbelievable. And they're back in goal to go yet again. Tell you what, this Bowling Green defense needs to step up. Uh-oh. We got a big man. He's rumbling. Bumbling. Rumbling, get in the end zone. Oh, and he's what is that? He's doing a front flip into the end zone. That guy could barely run 10 yards, but we got a 10-point ball game yet again, and it's a pick 6. Are you kidding me? Get the onside. If we get the onside, we're talking game of the century right here. And that is about the worst onside kick you're ever going to see. Missouri State scoops it up. 31-27 is your final. The Bears get to go back to Springfield 1-1 on the season. Coastal Carolina looking to go 2-0. Remember, they started the year out really well last year, going 7-0 and then falling off in the second half. Well, that touchdown right there would give them the 14-7 lead, but 2 BYU field goals would cut this thing to just 1. And then that pass right there gave them a 6-point lead, and the next time the Cougars touched the ball, it would go to 13. That pass was zipped in there. Not sure what the DB was doing on that one. Shantz wants to go into half down, just one score, and Humphreys is going to show up and show out with a touchdown to do just that. But this second half was all Cougars. I mean, this run right here just kind of encapsulates what the second half was. This thing finishes 50-34. That is now a 3-6 record since the Shantz started last year 7-0. As we take a look back at what was in week 2, we'll start in Conference USA. Middle Tennessee State with a big vengeful victory over Marshall. Western Kentucky putting BTA to Fresno State. Same score as the Middle Tennessee Marshall game. That's very interesting. Delaware with the heartbreaking loss in Neyland Stadium. Jacksonville State with another down-to-the-wire finish, pulling that one out by the skin of their teeth. And then Missouri State beating Bowling Green to get their first win of the season. In the MAC, we saw Ohio show off why they are the dominant team in that conference. Although they didn't look so dominant, they did win 14-13 over the offseason champs in the Rockets. Then Buffalo giving Clemson all they could handle. Unfortunately, not enough. We just talked about Bowling Green losing. That's a tough one for Coach P. Rizzi. Then UMass with the upset of the season, winning at Penn State 25-24 on that 2-point conversion. Gutsy call by Coach Koss, but it paid off big time. App State putting BTA. There's a lot of BTA on this scoreboard today. On San Diego State, that score was not as close as the game really felt. San Jose State beating Louisiana, and Louisiana, Coach Engel McCringleberry might be on the hot seat here soon. That is just not a very good performance from him. Nevada with the big win over UCLA 45-24. 45-24 is also the score of the Stanford-Utah State game, in a game in which might get Eric Taylor fired, if we're being honest. And obviously from the Fresno State perspective, that is just an unacceptable loss. You can't play like that and expect to win a football game. They are now 0-2 on the season. Coastal Carolina getting the teeth kicked in a little bit at the hands of BYU and Provo. That one was an ugly game from the Shantz perspective. And then our final game, Old Dominion getting curb stomped by Virginia Tech 40-12. Defense just nowhere near where it was last season. Not sure what needs to change, but something has to. Time to move on to Players of the Week, one of my favorite parts of each episode, seeing who did what. And we're going to start with a National Defensive Player of the Week yet again, Dylan Phelps with 4 INTs and another PBU. Yeah, he was all over the place, making Maddox Madsen's life hell in that 14-13 win. As we go to Conference USA, DJ Westlock, the Missouri State transfer, mind you, had 5 sacks, 7 TFLs, and a forced fumble in their big win over Marshall. And then Josh Joyner, 17 carries, 129 yards, 2 touchdowns, 93 yards through the air, and another score. So that's over 200 yards and 3 touchdowns all-purpose for the running back. For the Mountain West, it is Maliki Crawford with 2 INTs and 2 tackles against Louisiana. And then Tyson Chavez, even in their loss to App State, 12 catches, 149 yards, and 3 touchdowns. He was pretty much the only bright spot of that game for the Aztecs. That is week 2 of the league. If you had a good time, make sure to drop a like, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell as well while you're down there. Why not do all 3? I told you season 2 was going to be better than season 1, and we're already seeing that only 2 weeks in. Weeks 3 and 4 are going to be just as good, if not better. So you're going to want to make sure that you are tapped in, because that should be coming in just a few days. That is all I have for you today. Thank you all so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Catch you on the flip. See ya.